Hey guys, welcome back to the Micro Dairy Farmer channel. Today I just want to go over some of the changes that I've made here. This is my first fall/winter, going into the winter season here on this farm on the micro dairy. So I just wanted to show you some of the things I'm doing now where we have some nights that are freezing, but it's not cold freezing weather all the time and not snow or anything yet. So let's start in the small barn where we don't milk and talk about what I've done with the younger animals, the non-milking animals here. So starting out here in the small barn, basically now we have everybody inside who is not a milk cow for the season until next grazing. So we first have the calf. She is still on milk, so she's by herself. She's the only calf I have right now. She's going to be weaned in about 2.5 weeks at 6 months old. And she's been inside because she's on milk, and that makes it a lot easier. And then what is really new, because the calf has been here, is I now have my yearlings in the barn for the season. So I've got my Holstein, who is pregnant and due in June, and my Swiss, who is giving me a hard time, and I'm still working on getting pregnant. They will be in this pen. It's big enough for the two of them, and they're getting grain in the morning, hay morning and night. And this barn has electric, but it doesn't have running water. So the calf, I just give her water with a bucket. And the heifers right now, I am giving them water with a big bucket and a float valve with hoses running to the other barn. So it's working right now. When I'm pretty sure it's going to freeze in the morning, I will, overnight, based on the forecast, I will drain the hoses, but keep them hooked up. And so far it's been okay. Even if I don't drain them perfectly, then they'll thaw out during the day. At some point, I'm sure I'm going to have to just remove the float, fill them by hose, fully empty the hoses, and be a lot more disciplined with draining them. So we're in the other barn. Not much to really show right now because it's one of those days where it's, warm during the day as it is. So the cows are outside. But I am bringing the cows inside, 1 cow per pen with an empty pen because I just have 3. On nights where it's going to be really cold, we get a lot of wind here. Our farm is kind of on top of a hill. So if it's going to be like 35 with a strong wind or anything freezing or below, I'll just bring them in, keep them comfortable, and also keep the water lines, just keep the barn warmer. Nothing's been that cold that I'm really worried about it. Over here we have frost-free hydrants. That's the only thing out in the barn itself, and as long as like I said, unhook the heifer hose, those will drain down underground. Those aren't a problem, but I did insulate them. The insulation doesn't fully fit. We got the wrong size, but it's fine. It'll do. It shouldn't freeze anyways, and I don't plan on keeping it hooked up in super freezing weather. Out here at the top of the pastures, so right next to the barn where the cows come out, you can see the 3 cows that way. So now, for the most part, we've had a few frosts and freezes that I stopped. Okay, let me explain this. Hold on. I know the ideal situation would be to be grazing like Greg Judy through winter. It's my first year here. I'm still new to grazing, so I'm not going to be a perfectionist or too hard on myself. So I just wanted to face the camera to say that. I know this is not ideal. I'm just sharing what I'm doing, not telling you this is the way to do it. It's just what I hope will work for me going into my first cold season after my first grazing season here. And yeah, so let's go back to it. Okay, so we went from moving the cows every 2 days. Side note, I plan to set it up to move them daily next season. To now, I just split the whole pasture into 4 big strips. So strips meaning, you know, from the top all the way down to the back tree line. There's 4 long rows. So we're in the first one. And my plan is to let them hang out in a row for as long as possible until I believe like it's getting too muddy. You know, if I'm just gonna watch it and play it by ear. I don't have an official plan, which is not recommended. And I'm feeding them hay. So they're getting hay fed out in the pasture if they're outside, or they're getting their hay fed in the barn if they're staying in their stalls. So yeah, they're getting hay out in the pasture. Lots of manure here. I'm trying to use it to spread them around, avoid them beating up certain spots. And again, like I said, I'm just playing it by ear. This is what I'm doing right now. We'll see how long I can do it. And we have spigots in the pasture, and right now I've had them on the 2 far ends, so this side and then the far side away from us, because they need hoses to the spigots, where the 2 middle lanes I can just have a bucket under a spigot, and if I really am desperate, just manually fill it. I do have those insulated as well. But that's the plan right now for back here. And let's just talk about when this gets too rough to my comfort level. So because the cows stay in old horse stalls, the stalls are pretty small and cleaning is a good amount of work. So I still want to avoid them having to be inside like every day, all day for long periods of time. And I'm thinking in preparation, since this was an old horse farm, sorry, towards the front of our property is an old horse arena. We took down the fencing, but it's just like a mix of sand, some rock, and rubber mulch. And I'm thinking if I really don't want the cows out in the pastures anymore for any reason, I could put up my temporary fencing out there and just would have to make a lane from the barn. It wouldn't be a perfect setup, but I could get them out, and that spot, it's not grass, so they could totally destroy it for all I care. At some point, our plan is to have that removed, but it just hasn't been a top priority. So yes, right now, with going into fall and winter, we've insulated spigots, we're draining hoses when it's super cold, bringing the cows in if it's gonna freeze, feeding hay, not relying on grazing anymore, and a few other things like that. So that's how we're going right now. And again, like I said, everything is just on the fly and me deciding what I want to do as I go. So we will see if I need to totally change up my ways when we really get into winter. And if so, I will fill you guys in on the ideas I made and decisions I made at that point. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you. Goodbye.